Good morning and welcome to Farm Factor. I'm your host, Jamie Bloom. Today, Duane Toews is back at the Kansas State Fair exploring all things dairy, starting with a stop at the Dairy Bar and then a visit with the Southwest Dairy Farmers Group. Next, enjoy the weekly Kansas Soybean Report. And then it's back to the fair with Duane to meet a longtime livestock exhibitor from Colorado. We'll end with a big idea for small dairy producers. Stay with us.
Closed captioning brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff Progress, powered by Kansas farmers. To see this show and past episodes of Ag AM in Kansas, go online to agaminkansas.com. This segment is brought to you by Kansas Wheat. Learn more at rediscoverwheat.org.
Good morning and welcome back to Farm Factor at the Kansas State Fair. Let's join Duane Toews at the Dairy Bar as he catches up with Stephanie Eckroat with the Kansas Dairy Association.
And back with more Ag AM in Kansas. Duane Toews joined with Stephanie Eckroat. And Stephanie, you're with the Kansas Dairy Association, but for the 10 days of the Kansas State Fair, you've got a bigger job that this year has been quite the load.
Oh, I tell you what, we run the Dairy Bar down here underneath the grandstand every year, and we have had a lot of people come down. I'm sure the attendance is way up for fair this year.
Sounds like that as far as the amount of ice cream that you've pushed through that facility, far exceeding expectations of some years and maybe even record-setting this year.
Last Saturday was just really crazy. We sold a lot of ice cream, had a lot of consumers come through and pick up their favorite flavors, and we started out with about 1,500 gallons of ice cream. That's the hard pack, and it looks like we're going to go through most of that.
So from the Kansas Dairy Association's perspective, how long have you been involved with the Dairy Bar here at the State Fair?
Actually, this is only my second year of actually managing the bar. I've been involved in Kansas Dairy, the Kansas dairy industry for about 20 years now. I did dairy for a long time at the University at Fort Hays. During that time, I did the milking demonstrations, and just recently, like last year, I got the opportunity to take over the bar from the former director, and so this is my second year of doing this, and it's been exciting. We did some changes this year, and it's been good, I think, for the bar.
As far as general public coming through, obviously this is kind of the culmination of the dairy industry when the consumer actually gets to enjoy that, and it looks like a lot of happy faces as they exit the line.
Oh, I tell you what, the Dairy Bar is a great opportunity for the dairy producers to get to showcase their product. And the consumers that come through, they tell me stories about how they used to come when they were little kids. And, you know, I'll have people well past retirement age telling me that I've been coming here every single year. So it's a great tradition for a lot of families, and it's a wonderful opportunity for the Kansas dairymen. It really is.
So from your perspective, working with Kansas Dairy Association, obviously you have other things that go on throughout the year to support the dairy industry. Give us a little background on maybe some of those things that you're involved in.
Okay, great. Yeah, the Kansas Dairy Commission and Association are involved in a lot of different things throughout the year, including Farm Bureau, Kids Ag Day. We do several of those throughout the state. We do lots of promotional things. We also were involved in the Great Milk Drive this last year, and I had some different Farm Bureau and 4-H groups that were involved in that and helped collect money and food for the needy in the state. So yeah, we do lots and lots of different things throughout the year.
Just anecdotal perception, it appears that almost fluid milk's becoming more in vogue over the last couple of years, partially for some of those producer checkoff funded activities that are promoting it.
Definitely. You worry about the consumption of milk, but it seems to be holding well. And really, there's been a big push with a lot of dairy commodity groups to help promote milk as kind of a after workout type drink, and for chocolate milk especially. So lots of protein, good vitamins, 9 essential vitamins and minerals for you.
Well, our thanks to Stephanie Eckroat with the Kansas Dairy Association, managing the Kansas Dairy Bar here at the Kansas State Fairgrounds under the grandstand and serving up delicious ice cream. Jamie, we'll send it back to you in studio for more on Ag AM.
Thanks, Duane. Folks, stay with us as Duane moves to the milking parlor and visits with Callie Unruh with Southwest Dairy Farmers.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com. As fourth-generation farmers themselves, Heinen Brothers Ag Service understands the risk and rewards of farming. So when it comes to quality aerial and ground application, fertilizer, ag chemicals, and anhydrous ammonia, call Heinen Brothers Ag today, 800-760-4964.
This segment is brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Welcome back to Farm Factor. Let's join Duane in the milking parlor as he visits with Callie Unruh with Southwest Dairy Farmers, an alliance of dairy farmers who promote dairy education and product information.
Duane Toews joining you once again with Ag AM in Kansas, and while at the Kansas State Fair we had the opportunity to catch up with Callie Unruh. Callie works for Southwest Dairy Farmers, and Callie, you had the opportunity to work in a big way with young people and fairgoers alike, educating them about the dairy industry.
Yes, we've been running the milking demonstrations here at the fair for the last 3 years. We took it over from Fort Hays State about 3 years ago, and so we've been doing 6 shows a day, educating the public on what we do on the farm and showing them how we get milk from our cows to them as a consumer.
We think about some of the things that you talk about, trying to explain that in a fashion that's relevant or makes sense for them.
Yes, definitely. We try to put it into terms that they understand, give them good comparisons to know why we do the things that we do, and that gives them a little bit better idea of why farmers do what they're doing on the farm, and maybe a little relation to things that they know about and on the farm sense.
You do a number of programs throughout the year. In addition to fairs and expositions, you actually have kind of a traveling road show, if you will.
Yes, we do. During the school years, I do what's called the Mobile Dairy Classroom, and we bring a live cow on a trailer with all of our milking equipment for schools, and we put on a oral presentation, a live milking demo, and a question and answer period. And what's cool about it is a free event for schools, so any school in Kansas can book that program through our website.
Talking about those educational opportunities, all of agriculture really has kind of taken a big step forward in realizing that educating consumers about what we do in a positive light certainly is more beneficial than reactionary stances when those outside of agriculture try to take pot shots at us.
Yes, definitely. We feel like we're trying to be proactive instead of reactive, and we're trying to be out here telling our story, and I think it's important that our story comes from people who do this job every single day, and we can tell the consumers why we're doing what we're doing and give them some truths, because there are a lot of misconceptions out there.
It appeared that the young people in particular were very enamored with the milking parlor here at the Kansas State Fairgrounds, and maybe had the most questions. Influencing them before they have an opportunity to hear some of those negative tones probably is important as well.
Yes, definitely. And that's part of the reason why we run the mobile dairy classroom at schools, is because we want to get those kids before they maybe learn some falsehoods about agriculture. And it's always great because we get lots of good questions from the kids, like where does chocolate milk come from? And we assure them that it does not come from our brown cows. So.
You work for Southwest Dairy Farmers. Tell us a little bit about that group and what it's comprised of.
Yeah, Southwest Dairy Farmers is a dairy education and promotional company. We cover 9 different states, I believe, with over 500 dairy farmers and their families who fund us to do programs at fairs, community events, and also our schools. They obviously can't leave the farm as easy as we can, so we try to get out there and help them do those promotional events for them.
Our thanks to Callie Unruh for joining us with Ag AM in Kansas. Jamie, we'll send it back to you in studio.
Thanks, Duane. Folks, it's time to grab a cup of coffee, but don't go far away. Next up is this week's Kansas Soybean Report.
Kansas Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to Farm Factor and the Kansas Soybean Report.
This is the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Jeff Vogel, Plant Protection and Weed Control Program Manager with the Kansas Department of Agriculture, is joining us. And for soybean growers, Jeff, one of the big things they're probably looking at, especially to help disease control out in their fields, is looking at crop rotation, and they're going to have to start planning for that for 2016.
That's correct. Rotation is a very important part of an integrated pest management program to manage plant diseases. But really, to get the most benefit out of rotation, there are some additional considerations to think about. Rotation, at least for part of disease management, works with diseases that are soil-borne or build up inoculum in the soil under continuous cropping situations. But it does not work with diseases that are blown up from the south. Example of that, a common one, is the wheat leaf rust that get blown up from the south as wheat matures. Rotation would not be able to manage that type of disease if you were considering it.
Soybean rust would probably be another example as well?
Most definitely. When we think about rotation, we must also start thinking about rotating into a crop that is not related. For example, if you were in soybeans, looking at a non-legume type crop, or kind of thinking about something that is unrelated. Grain sorghum to forage sorghum would not be advisable if you're looking at that, but it just has to be a different type crop species so that the same disease will not serve as a host for both species.
So let's turn that around the other way. Would that kind of work the same way if next year you want to put a field into soybeans, on how you approach that?
If you're considering soybean rotation into soybeans, there's a couple soil-borne diseases you could consider. One of them is soybean cyst nematode, but really looking at the literature, multiple years of non-soybean crops really provides the best benefit as far as reducing the populations in the field. Phytophthora root rot is something. If you rotating into soybeans, if you didn't have soybeans in the previous year, you could help manage that disease.
The bottom line for that Kansas farmer, really need to be proactive in how they look at this?
Most definitely. I think planning ahead and thinking about rotation is important to manage diseases, but I do want to step back and say be careful with some rotations. For example, corn followed by wheat sometimes can increase the head scab incidence because the same disease is present in both crops.
All right, Jeff, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's Jeff Vogel, Plant Protection and Weed Control Program Manager with the Kansas Department of Agriculture. He's been our guest on the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Learn more at kansassoybeans.org. For Kansas Soybeans, I'm Greg Akagi.
Hope you enjoyed this week's Kansas Soybean Report. Stay tuned for Duane's visit with a longtime livestock exhibitor in the dairy barn.
I will take action against herbicide-resistant weeds. I will know my weeds, and I will stop them before they go to seed. I will do whatever it takes to give my crops the upper hand, and I will use multiple herbicide sites of action because every action counts. I will take action, this time for all time.
Buying a car shouldn't be this hard. And at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego, it isn't. It's actually awesome. Whether you want a new or used car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. Even if you want to custom order a new car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. See Toby's team at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego. We're awesome.
Now another gardening tip with Annette Jackson.
Now's the time to overseed your lawn.
The success of your lawn depends on the quality you plant and the proper fertilizer. Plant 100% weed-free seed with top-rated varieties tested by KSU. Always use Fertilome New Lawn Starter for faster, stronger root development. Don't waste time and money with lower quality seed from the box stores.
Join the Jackson's Greenhouse WIBW Garden Club and save 10% on your lawn seed and Fertilome New Lawn Starter.
This segment brought to you by Heinen Brothers Ag, farmers helping farmers by offering quality aerial and ground application, fertilizer, ag chemicals, and anhydrous ammonia. Call today to protect your crop yield.
Welcome back. Let's catch up with Duane and Tina Cobb, a livestock exhibitor from Windsor, Colorado.
Duane Toews joining you with Ag AM in Kansas. And while at the Kansas State Fair, in the dairy barn, we had the opportunity to talk with Tina Cobb. Tina from Windsor, Colorado, Remembrance Farm. And Tina, you had the opportunity to show in the Milking Shorthorn show with junior champion and outstanding female. And I understand that you've got plans for her in the coming weeks.
Yes, that's right. We're hoping to go to Madison, Wisconsin to the World Dairy Expo with our beautiful girl, Sterling, and see how we will do there. It's probably the best dairy show in the whole world, and I'm a little bit intimidated by it, but I'm going to take that chance, and we're going to step out of our safety zone, or whatever you want to call it, and go for it anyway and see what happens.
So, Tina, I know from past experience here at the Kansas State Fair and with you, one heifer that you brought, sometimes circumstances dictate the way things work out, but you've been a long-time exhibitor here at the Kansas State Fair.
Yeah, that's right. I started coming when I was about 13 or 14 years old, and back in those days there were this barn and the other barn both were full of cattle. It was a wonderful time, and we learned a lot, what to look for in showing cattle, what kind of cattle would win, and we all learned together, my dad and my sister and I, and enjoyed it thoroughly, which is why we still come. We love the people at the Kansas State Fair, especially the breeders that show with us. It's our favorite fair and always will be, and hope to keep coming as long as I have cattle.
Now, Tina, I'm not going to make that mistake of saying how old you might be, but you referenced that you've been showing dairy cows since you were a teenager. Obviously, you've seen things change over time. What are some of the differences over the years that you've seen as far as what we've done with dairy cows, particularly in the show ring?
It has changed quite a bit. Conformation-wise, the cattle, I think, have come a long ways towards the good. I love seeing the beautiful cattle out there, no matter what the breed is. I love seeing beautiful cattle. I love dairy cattle, I always will. I'm especially drawn to Brown Swiss since I grew up on a Brown Swiss farm. And they have changed a lot, as have the Milking Shorthorns. And I love being a part of both of those breeds. We also have a Jersey at home that our grandson shows, and we're very proud of her and being part of that breed also. Of course, our cattle give more and more milk all the time, too, which is a good thing if you want to stay in the business of actually milking cattle. My husband and I no longer milk because it got to be harder and harder to make a living in the dairy industry, and we finally gave it up. But we have wonderful friends who continue to milk some cows for us so that we can come and be a part of this.
Well, our thanks to Tina Cobb and Windsor, Colorado, Remembrance Farm. Ben, her husband, unable to make the trip with her this year due to circumstance, but joining us on Ag AM in Kansas. Jamie, we'll send it back to you in studio.
Thanks, Duane. Next, Bridget Smith shares a big opportunity for niche marketing to help small producers stay competitive in the dairy business.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information.
Biodiesel made from sustainable resources is diversifying our fuel supply. This year, biodiesel will displace over 1 billion gallons of fossil fuel nationwide. It's making our economy stronger and our communities healthier. It's working here and across America. Get biodiesel going in your community. Visit americasadvancedbiofuel.com.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or for more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to Farm Factor. Let's meet up with Duane again as he visits with a small producer from Oklahoma.
Duane Toews joining us. We continue discussion about dairy at the Kansas State Fair. They had the opportunity to talk for Ag AM in Kansas with Bridget Smith. She is from Collinsville, Oklahoma. And Bridget, your family exhibiting brown Swiss here at the Kansas State Fair, and a family operation that has learned to adapt through the years.
Yeah, adaptation for a small family farm is kind of the key right now, because the corporate farms are making more money, making it harder for the small family farms. So it's been vital for us to find a niche. What marketing tool would work for us to be able to stay, keep the vitality going in our farm and even stay in business. So that's kind of what we've been working on.
Certainly, I understand that you have been providing off-site income to the family operation for a number of years, but the field of education kind of sparked your interest in education and continued learning that maybe has maybe found a new home for Jones Smith Dairy.
Yes. Well, what happened, I'm a teacher by trade, and we were looking for, there was an article just kind of rare out there when I was looking into finding ways for the small family dairy to keep going. And it was about A2 milk. And if you know, each animal gets a protein, either A1 or A2. Well, I found out brown Swiss, which is what we breed, that they are 90% of them have A2. Well, A2 milk is the natural. All the old breeds have A2 milk. Like Guernseys, most of them are A2 and Jerseys. And so that A2 milk actually doesn't cause inflammation in the body. It's easier to process. So people who have autoimmune diseases, people who have disabilities like autism, Down syndrome, all of these, they actually process that milk and it helps their body. And so I started doing some research, and University of California at Davis has a lab, and I started sending and testing our animals. And once we did that, we found out that most of our animals have been A2. And so we've been able to sell A2 certified animals to different people, actually in Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and we've been selling heifers, and we just sold an A2 bull for the first time, and we concentrate on that niche in our market.
Certainly, I, for one, prior to talking to you, thought that milk was milk, and it appears that the majority of what's commercially available doesn't fall in that category, I understand.
That's correct. There's only, in the United States, there's only 2,000 Holsteins that are A2. So if you think about 2,000 Holsteins and how much milk is actually being made in the United States, that's a very small percentage of animals, because most of our milk traditionally comes from Holstein cattle. So A2 milk, it's really important. It's just kind of like when you talk about organic, everybody's definition of that is different. So you need to find a way, to educate yourself about what you eat. And A2 was a way for people who had issues they can actually process this milk better. And so in Australia, they've actually come out with all the milk, the dairies are going A2 certified, and the milk over there in the store is labeled A2. So it's kind of a trend that's been going on in other countries, but the United States is just kind of picking up on it now.
Our thanks to Bridget Smith, Collinsville, Oklahoma, joining us here on Ag AM in Kansas with opportunities for niche marketing and small producers to stay competitive in the dairy industry. Jamie, back to you in studio.
Thanks for joining us again at the Kansas State Fair. I'm your host, Jamie Bloom, and I hope you enjoyed our dairy stories today. See you next week on Farm Factor. We're here every Tuesday on Ag AM in Kansas.
Closed captioning brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, Progress, powered by Kansas farmers.